Welcome to Eastern Washington University's Video Instructions for Zoom. In this video, we'll be covering the process of joining and customizing a Zoom meeting. This includes pre-meeting AV testing, joining and displaying the meeting, and managing the meeting. Due to the length of this video, we will separate tasks into sections, which will be further broken down. You can access each task and their breakdowns by using the timestamps provided. Before you join a meeting, it helps to make sure that your computer's speakers, microphone, and camera are functioning properly. While there are ways of working around problems, it is less stressful to solve the problems before the meeting starts. And while you are testing things, you can also customize how the meeting starts with regards to the microphone and the camera. In this section, we will cover accessing the settings window, testing the speakers, testing the microphone, and testing the camera. First, we'll begin at the desktop with the Zoom client open and already signed in. Make sure that you are on the home page of Zoom, then drag your mouse up to the top right and click on the settings button. This is the general settings window. We'll start by testing the audio. Find the audio tab on the left and click it. This is the test computer audio window. We'll start by testing the speakers. Click the test speaker button. Move the slider on the volume bar to get the desired loudness. Click the stop button when you are done. If you aren't getting any sound, you may have to do some troubleshooting. Changing the source through the computer's source drop-down menu might work. Next, we'll test the microphone. Think of something to say for 5 or 6 seconds. Now click the test mic button and start talking. Then listen to what the computer heard. I'm talking. Well, what am I going to talk about? Well, that's it now. I'm talking. Well, what am I going to talk about? Well, that's it now. Note that there is an automatically adjust microphone checkbox right below the volume bar. Usually Zoom does a good job of getting the microphone to work properly. If it doesn't, you'll have to uncheck the checkbox before you can move the volume bar slider. If you have problems getting the microphone to work, you might start by changing the source. Note that there are some checkboxes at the bottom of the test computer audio window. These allow you to customize what happens to the audio when you join a meeting. You might want to check Always Mute Microphone when joining a meeting, especially if you have more than one computer in the meeting in the same classroom. Feedback hurts. Next up, video testing. Find the video tab on the left and click it. You should be getting a picture of what your default camera is seeing. If you have multiple cameras, you can select the one you want through the camera source drop-down menu. In this instance, we don't have multiple cameras. You can also customize things based on the hardware you are using through the My Video checkboxes. What you do is hardware dependent and not within the scope of this video. At the same time, dropping down a little ways, the meeting checkboxes are something you want to look into further. Right now, 2 of them are checked. One displays the names of the participants with their video. The other one hides my video when I join the meeting. What you want to check is up to you and the structure of the meeting. If you don't see any video, there's a convenient link to the Zoom site. At this point, you've completed AV testing. It's time to join and display the meeting. When you are the host of a pre-scheduled meeting, joining it is fairly simple. Once joined, you can refine how you want to display the participants and how big you want the meeting screen relative to the desktop. In this section, we will cover joining a pre-scheduled Zoom meeting, selecting the screen coverage amount, and selecting how the participants are displayed. We'll begin at the desktop with the Zoom client open and already signed in. Move the mouse to the Meetings tab at the bottom and click it. Now move the mouse over the meeting you want to start. Buttons will appear. The buttons that appear will depend upon different aspects of the meeting. Click Start to join the meeting. In the background is the meeting screen. In the foreground is the Join window. While we could test the speakers and microphone, we've already done that earlier in this video, so we clicked the Join Audio Conference by Computer button. We are now in the Zoom meeting. In this instance, we see aspects of the meeting, but we don't see any videos of ourselves or any participants. That's because we haven't started the video. To do that, move the mouse down to the Start Video button and click it. Do not move your mouse. After a few seconds, the menu bars and the buttons at the top and bottom of the meeting screen will disappear. To get them back, move the mouse again. Zoom assumes that you don't want the buttons available when the mouse isn't moving. Before we go any further, you need to know about a certain gotcha that might throw you off. It's the disappearing meeting screen gotcha. Click the Minimize button. On a Windows computer, it is in the upper right corner. The meeting screen shrinks down as opposed to appearing as a task on a taskbar. It could easily be hiding behind other windows. To restore the meeting screen to full size, mouse over the minimized meeting screen to bring up the bottom menu bar. Then mouse over the Exit Minimized Video button and click it. Your screen should be back to normal now. Now we're going in the opposite direction when it comes to displaying the meeting screen. Move the mouse to the upper right corner of the meeting screen and click on the Full Screen button. The meeting screen is now taken over the desktop. Go back to the normal meeting screen, drag the mouse up to the upper right corner of the meeting screen, and click the Exit Full Screen button. You are back to the original size of the meeting screen. Note that double-clicking the meeting screen will also take you to full screen mode, and back again. Pressing the Escape key only takes you from full screen mode to normal screen mode. It doesn't go the other way. When two or more people have joined a scheduled meeting, a new button appears in the upper right corner of the meeting screen. This button toggles between Speaker View and Gallery View. This is Gallery View. Up to 49 participants can be shown on the screen. The yellow band around the Presenter 1 box shows who's speaking, in theory. Drag the mouse to the Speaker View button in the upper right corner of the meeting screen and click it. This is Speaker View. The person who is speaking is displayed on the bottom screen, while the other participants appear in the band at the top. To go back to Gallery View, drag the mouse to the Gallery View button in the upper right corner of the meeting screen and click it. Before we go any further, you need to know about another gotcha that might throw you off in a very embarrassing way. It is the Hide Myself gotcha. Drag the mouse through the video window that shows you and find the three dots of the More Options button. Click the button and then click Hide Myself. The video window shows that you are gone. You don't have to look at yourself during the meeting. This does not mean that other people can't see you. As long as your video is on, people can see you. Don't be lulled into a sense of privacy just because you can't see yourself. If you don't want to be seen, drag the mouse to the Stop Video button at the bottom left of the video screen and click it. This concludes the section about joining meetings and customizing displays. In addition to customizing how you display the participants and the meeting screen, you can also customize how you manage the meeting, especially if you are the host. The Participants window allows you to view and control what the participants can do. The chat window gives you an alternative communications channel that you can also control. In this section, we will cover working with the participants window and working with the chat window. Drag the mouse down to the Participants button at the bottom of the meeting screen and click it. In this instance, the Participants window appears as a sidebar to the meeting screen. It could have appeared as a separate window that is independent of the meeting screen. To turn the Participants window from a sidebar to an independent window, drag the mouse up to the Participants window Options button in the upper left part of the Participants window and click on it. Drag the mouse to the pop-out option and click it. The Participants window is now an independent window that can be moved around as needed. To change the Participants window back to a sidebar, drag the mouse down to the More button in the lower right portion of the Participants window and click it. Then drag the mouse to the Merge to Meeting window option and click it. The Participants window goes back to being a sidebar of the meeting screen. Whether the Participants window is a sidebar or an independent window, what you can do with it is much the same. You do have to keep in mind that the options vary depending upon whether you are a host or a mere participant. Host and co-host have a lot more control over what can be done. To find out what you can do on a participant-by-participant level, drag the mouse over the participants in the meeting. The buttons will appear when you can do something with regards to the participant. If the button says More, click on it to bring up additional options. Exploring all the possibilities of the Participants window is not something covered by this video. The Chat window has several features in common with the Participants window. To access the Chat window, drag the mouse down to the Chat button at the bottom of the screen and click it. In this instance, the Chat window appears as a separate window that is independent of the meeting screen. It could have appeared as a sidebar of the meeting screen. To change the window back to the sidebar, drag the mouse to the More button in the lower right corner of the Chat window and click it. Then drag the mouse to the Merge to Meeting window option and click it. The Chat window will become a sidebar of the meeting screen. To turn the Chat window from a sidebar into an independent window, drag the mouse to the Chat window Options button in the upper left part of the Chat window and click it. Now drag the mouse to the pop-out option and click it. Whether the Chat window is a sidebar or an independent window, what you can do with it is much the same. You do have to keep in mind that the options available may vary depending upon whether you are a host or a mere participant. Host and co-host have a little bit more control over what can be done. Exploring all the possibilities of the Chat window is not something covered by this video. This concludes the Eastern Washington University Video Instruction Guide for joining and conducting a Zoom meeting.